If I share my screen with you now, so you see my right on screen. So if this is going to be a bracelet, so what we need is basically to create a circle to define the wrist, right? So if I grab a YZ plane and let's put, I don't know, like uh, so 150. This is too big for a bracelet, but scale is fine. I mean, this is just for sort of visualization purposes. And what we are going to do next is, since it's going to be a bracelet and it's going to be like a bit twisting and curly, I need to divide this curve, right? So let's divide this curve. And when I divide this curve, I want to have a bit more like a sort of a resolution. So I will divide this into, I don't know, maybe 100. And each point that I'm going to, each point that I'll be having here, I'll be creating, let's say, I don't know, like a geometry that twists. What it can be, I mean, it can be a rectangle, it can be an ellipse, it can be a circle, and so on and so forth. But let's start with the rectangle. Okay, how I can put this plane, or how I can put planes that are perpendicular to this curve so that I can create the rectangles on that plane, how I can do that. So what I'll be doing here is basically, let's say, starting to going to the curve, and underneath the analysis we will have perpendicular frame, and this is my curves. And where is my perpendicular frames parameters? Parameters are basically the domains on the curve. So each point or each curve has its own parameters. And when we divide this curve, we already have the parameters here. So if I increase my size of plane size, so if I make it 1000, you see each plane now is quite perpendicular and large, unfortunately. So maybe it's not this, but I don't know, 50 is enough. So yeah, you see, so these are going to be my frames, right? What I can do next is put an X size. And if you remember from our previous videos, how we construct a rectangle is we need a domain for X size, we need a domain for Y size. Let's say I'll be putting 100 and negative because I want it to, I want my rectangles to be centered on these planes, right? Connected over here, putting here, and copy this and paste it, and maybe edit this to, like, I don't know, maximum 500. You will see how it goes. And connect it over here and connect it over here. So what I'm seeing now is this is a bit like heavy. This looks a bit chunky. So I can do this, and maybe even I can do something like this. Okay. And what I'll be doing now, since I am having my frames here, I can rotate this rectangles, right? If I rotate this rectangles as I did in my previous video, in between, like, let's say within a range or with a series. So how many rectangles I have? There is, by the way, a really nice automated way to do this. We have 100 rectangles. So if I go to set and list, if I grab list length, I can get the length of my list in which can be used to describe my count. So I can put it into my count, right? And start from this and end from this. And you know the trick, right? If I divide by division, again, like let's say 100, like 720 divided by this, this is going to be my step count. And if I put this as a radians to here, to my angles, right? But the plane is not defined, therefore it's doing this weird. But in the meantime, Not quite like not super, not bad though. Quite, in my opinion, interesting. So if we take these frames and put it in here, you see that our frames are being rotated on the perpendicular points of our bracelet. So if I put them all off, you see, since like this is too much now, so if I put 160, and if I loft these guys, you see I have something as such, and you see this is not closed. And if I go to, if I right click to this loft options and close loft and commit changes, what I'm seeing is something as such. So this is kind of cool, right? And when we change this, when we change the heights, when we change the sizes, we are all having this in and out, right? It's going up and down, or like it's twisting, rotating, and we can change the angle always. We can say, okay, this is 90, right? But when we put it 90, it's a bit weird. We can say 180. It's a bit weird still because they're not completing their full circle. So this could be a nice way of handling our very first bracelet attempt. And that is pretty much it for this one. Let's basically let me group all this as we pause here. And in the next video, I'll be talking about, like, maybe, yeah. We finish this in the next one. I'll be talking about how we can create this maybe with ellipse, but this time adding sort of a scale variation and visualize them.